Welcome to the podcast, From One Mother of an Addict to Another. This is a space of sharing heartfelt personal experiences, insightful thoughts, and powerful suggestions, which can hopefully assist and offer strength navigating your journey alongside a loved one facing addiction and mental illness.
Hi, welcome to the podcast episode, Navigating Family Gatherings While Supporting Recovery. This is an interesting topic because I personally think there is no way to do that. Absolutely 100% not. I love when people say, here we go, their kid is home from rehab or their loved one is, and they don't want to have alcohol at the party, and they're worried that people are going to be smoking. One relative smokes pot, the other has a vape. A couple of kids, some of the cousins go to school and they party a lot, and there are going to be people coming over that drink heavily, and they're very concerned what's going to happen with their loved one at the party. Okay, well, then that party's not for that person. And guess what? They're going to have to navigate their entire life at parties, trying to be supportive, trying to be strong. I remember this guy that said to me, he was a recovering alcoholic. He said, I went to my kids' fraternity weekend away at the college. All the fathers were there with their sons. It was lovely. All weekend, everyone kept saying, why aren't you drinking? You want to drink? Why aren't you drinking? Drink. They all were drinking a lot. Not a single person would think in their brain, wow, maybe there's a reason why he's not drinking. But no one. He said it was the most upsetting weekend. Yes, he had a nice time with his son, but at the end of the day, he just had to keep warding off people. And after a while, what he did is he just put water in a drink, which looked like vodka, and he just left it at that. Because he said it's like it was nonstop. And then someone actually came over and just poured some water in a glass. And then they proceeded to take his glass and add some alcohol to it. And he's like, oh, thank you, thanks, and then walked away and dumped it. And he's like, it was so hard. It was like making it harder for him. Just by everyone kept saying, oh, have a drink, have something to drink. So maybe is it better to be honest and be able to say, look, I'm an alcoholic, I'm a recovering alcoholic. I have to go to meetings weekly. I've been doing this now for 5 years, and I've been sober, and it's difficult for me. So I'd appreciate it if you didn't keep asking me. Now, most people will not do that. They don't feel comfortable. They don't want to embarrass their loved ones. They don't want to embarrass the person they're with. They don't want to have to say that. People are still think it's a stigma with it. And that is something that is really, really difficult to handle and navigate. Now, that's not even with family. That's with strangers. Now, imagine the family gathering. Everybody's watching you. The person's being watched. You're watching them. You're acknowledging. So you're making it even more uncomfortable for the person that's recovering because you're overly concerned for them. You're making it more you're nervous for yourself, so you're not comfortable. And then that's shown by your actions, and so on and so forth. And even saying to the addict, recovering addict, oh, listen, oh God, is it hard? Is it hard for you? You bringing it up to them is also not even making it easier at that moment. Now, I love when they say, what are the triggers? Maybe you should not, you should talk about this, plan in advance, see, what triggers there would be, what kind of substances they're going to be there, to prepare if the recovering addict's going to be there. Listen, Again, the story before, as you can see, it doesn't matter who you're with. They're going to spend their entire lives having to control their ability to stay sober, to stay in recovery from whatever that is, from gambling, from smoking, from drinking, from staying on their meds, whatever it is, they have to control this. You're not going to be with people 24/7. You're not going to be with your loved ones 24/7 that you can oversee their recovery as much as you would like that. Now, focusing more on them going to meetings is a better idea. Now, one of the things that I noticed through the years, when there were family gatherings, um, I see my son like definitely go to a meeting, AA meeting, Al-Anon meetings, but AA meetings before we would meet, or like that night. So let's say we had a family gathering with like a whole bunch of people, and then like at 6 o'clock he would leave and go to a meeting. That's actually something he needed, and he did it on his own. That's a great idea. They have to take the initiative. The recovering person has to take the initiative. If you plan it out and you make the suggestions and you have to do all this preparation for their emotional being, then that's not going to work ever, because you're not going to be with them 24/7. And again, you're putting it on yourself rather than the recovering addict. So let's go through this again. It's holiday time and you're having family gatherings. You could either say to the covering family member, listen, we're going to so-and-so's house. They're having about 20 people. Here are the people that are going to be there. They're having like drinks. It's a happy hour. And then we're having dinner. And then we're probably going to, I could see us hanging around the fireplace outside. And that's basically how the night's going to go. You want to come? Is that something that's going to work for you? Or are you going to have triggers and you feel like that's just not going to make you feel comfortable and you don't feel confident enough that you could control your urges? That is something you could say. But for you to try to control the event, I mean, I love when they say, and they actually online and stuff, like they have these things about, oh, set boundaries. Really? What kind of boundaries are you setting for your family member who's in recovery? Why a boundary? What's a boundary to go to a family gathering? Either they can go or they can't go. And if it's not in their best interest, then don't have them go. Don't invite them. You don't need them there to make you feel better, to make everybody else feel better in the family. Why? Have a gathering of just immediate people, immediate family, be it 5 people or 6 people with the recovering addict. That's a great idea. And then have another party and meet up with all these other people. You don't have to feel that the recovering addict, family member, friend, whoever it is, has to go to every little gathering or has to be invited, are going to feel not included or missed, or why aren't they there? Sometimes it's better, less questions asked. They just didn't feel like going. Or it's not the right environment for them. Hello? Now, you could ask them if they'd like to attend, but if not, why? Why even get to that point? I mean, it's so interesting. If you can't control their addiction, then how can you control their recovery? Of course you can't. Anything about it. And everybody's recovery is so different, and the way they handle it is so different. There is no rule book. There is no checklist. There can't possibly be a checklist for any of this. So when someone says, oh, well, let's prepare, who are you preparing for? How are you going to do this? How are you going to set it up so that they feel comfortable and know what their triggers are, so you'll have an exit strategy for them. Really? Why am I going to have an exit strategy for someone that has to control their own addictions, their own behavior? I can't possibly do that. I don't even have my own exit strategy for my own emotions. How am I going to do someone else's? And it's just not practical, and it doesn't sound practical, and it shouldn't sound practical to you either. So, what you should focus on, and one of the reasons why I wanted to stress this about navigating family gatherings while supporting someone's recovery, is basically have smaller gatherings if you want at your home, just like 5 people. It doesn't feel like you're letting anybody else down by not having, let's say, alcohol, or not bringing out the cards for poker, or you could do like fun games, or maybe do like bingo with pretzels, or like you could do and make up fun things to do around the house, instead of feeling like, oh, like there's no fun, like, okay, we're not going to drink, so we can't all get silly, and then what are we going to do? No, prepare games, do stuff that would be fun and not include alcohol. So that could be one thing that you could plan for a family gathering. Now, if you plan on having more people and you don't serve alcohol, well, then you don't serve alcohol. You could actually tell people beforehand, hey, we want everybody to come, but there's no alcohol, okay? There's no BYOB, there's no bring your own drugs, there's nothing. There's come, we're gonna have games set up, we'll have fun together, we'll eat, and we'll just, we're gonna have some like cute charades, and we're gonna have a Santa gift, grab bag. That's what we're going to do. All right. They either choose to come or not. But what triggers are there for the recovering relative? The only triggers that are going to occur for a recovering relative is if you put them, and they put themselves, in a situation where they could potentially be drawn back into not being able to control their urges, which is common, which is typical. And if it's their first spout at rehab and they're just recovering from it, then it's probably not a good idea for them to attend a party like that. But again, if you personally invite them, that's one thing. But if it's somewhere else and it's someone else's house, then don't invite them. Triggers to look for are their own triggers. I mean, they'll only know that while they're in recovery and as they go through recovery. And since there's a 99% chance that they are going to get out of recovery and back into addiction and rehab, it's probably not a good idea to judge what their triggers are, because you have absolutely no idea what they are, and you can't even guess at that. Now, anxiety does come in, and anxiety is obviously being put in situations where you feel uncomfortable, when you're with a whole bunch of family members that you haven't seen in a long time. No, that's not necessary. And it's not necessary to have to put your relative through that. Now, if they want to see everyone and hang out, and they're a very friendly, outgoing person, and they don't have those kind of anxieties, feeling less of, or they're more confident, their personalities, they're much more confident, then that's great. But if they don't have that, then probably a good idea not to include them in that gathering. And that's it. It's as simple as that. Don't let anybody make it more difficult. It's not on you. You can't protect the recovery, just like you can't control the addiction. And it goes hand in hand. And it's interesting because I remember when my son got out of being in recovery, it's like I didn't even know where to begin. I didn't even know how I could control a situation or know exactly where they are every minute. You can't. You might want to, but so what? What are you going to check their room, check their breath all the time? Check their credit card to see if they bought anything at the liquor store. Follow them. It's not going to work. It's not realistic to anyone that you would be with. a husband, an uncle, a cousin, a mother, a brother. They have to want this, just like they want to be sober. Okay, they want to get help. It all goes hand in hand. Remember that. That's the trigger for you. That is your trigger. That's the only thing you should be focusing on, not anybody else's trigger, because you cannot control that one for a holiday or any day of the week.
Thanks for tuning in. I trust this episode brought you insight and strength, offering valuable coping strategies. Stay connected with weekly content, plus follow if you enjoyed, and be sure to journal for your own self-care.